All right. You good? All right. Experienced, versed, and industry focused. These are just a few of the words that come to my mind from my conversation with Gordon Morse. Gordon has an extensive background within the financial services space, from being a financial advisor and restructuring a few firms to now consulting and helping financial advisory firms push through both growing pains and desires to innovate. Gordon has seen the evolution of our industry and believes very much in the need to innovate and grow our firms. Today, we are lucky enough to have Gordon on the show to talk about where the industry was, where it is going, and how firms are able to keep ahead in this ever-changing environment. Gordon, thanks for joining us here today.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, so we were talking before we started recording. We should have just recorded it right there, but you're a big music guy, and Zeppelin has a big part
My
of
favorite
your
band.
band. There you go.
Yeah.
So why has music been such a big part of your life?
I think just at an early age, I developed some relationships that turned me on to music, and it's always been there. It's been an important part of my life, and I've got 3 daughters, and I used to sing them music, sing them songs when they were babies, and I don't know, it's always helped, flatten the cycles for me.
Yeah.
It's always been a great escape.
Are you a guy that listens to music while working? Do you always have music in the background? Or
No,
do you,
no. When I'm working, I'm pretty hardcore and
Yeah.
I'm focused. But when I relax, I like to listen to music.
Yeah.
And so, no, when I'm not working, I listen to music a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
So and
Just got the earbuds, man. Those things.
the earbuds, the
earbuds, yeah, those
those are
things are
great.
awesome.
Those are great.
Awesome.
And actually, they're awesome for phone calls too, because people think you're like
They are.
clear.
They are.
I never thought they would work that well, but Apple knows something.
They
One of
do.
the things.
They
two
do.
things. So we were talking about best venues in Atlanta, and one of your favorite venues is Chastain. Chastain, what I love about Chastain is the ability of when you can bring your own table, bring your own food.
Yes.
It's outdoors, and it's really, you feel like you're still, it's not too big. You're
Right.
still there, and you can get some great shows there.
Right.
at
Right.
that
It's a
venue.
great experience.
It is.
It's a great experience.
It is.
It's a different experience. It's different for the artists. They're looking out and seeing everybody eating and drinking.
Yeah.
I've seen some kind of get pissed off over it, but in general, it's a really cool way to see a concert.
Yeah, it is a great
And
venue.
it's right in the heart of our beautiful city.
Yep. I mean, if you have a house right there, then you get free concerts
Yes.
all the time.
Yes.
Whether you
Yes.
like it or not,
Whether you like it or not.
you get a free concert, whether it's Kiss or whoever it may be. Well, good. Well, yeah, I'm a big music fan. I'm moving up the ladder. I'm trying to become better with music. I have a lot of friends that are into it, and my brother is a big music guy as well. But I'm the guy that listens to music as he works, because I'd like to have something in the background for some reason. I don't know why.
Help you focus.
And there's a study on it that it's funny how there's drastic different views of music in the background, because some people love to listen as a music person. I'm sure you love to listen to the instruments and you can hear and understand what is going on. I have no clue what the heck's going on. I just like to hear the sounds that are going on. I'm like, that was pretty good.
I like the stories.
Yeah, the stories.
I like the stories.
The words, I agree.
Yes.
Well, let's get into kind of the meat of this, right? And
All right.
I'm excited to have you on, because I think that when we talked prior, you have a really unique perspective of this industry. And what we're trying to do here on this show is always provide different perspectives and also value add that firms can take today. And I think that you provide that. And so I want to start out really simple. And I always like to do this with all of our guests. From your perspective, the RIA industry, I want, what's the state of our industry? If you were to give a state of the union, what are 2 or 3 points that you would put in the state of the union of our industry today?
That's a good question. I think number one, the RIA space is in the best place it's ever been, as far as I'm concerned. With technology, the ability to custody, multi-custodian, the RIA is now in a position, more so than any time I've seen it, to compete against anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody. And it's the technology, and it's the custody and the safety of assets and the reporting, and the ability to really be unencumbered by a large firm that will limit your ability to really service your clients in the way that you want to service them. So I think the RIA industry is in a good place. It's very competitive.
Mm-hmm.
It's extremely hard to differentiate yourself. but it's always going to be there, and it's not going away.
Mm-hmm.
Never has, never will. And it's just a matter of trying to figure out, the best way to connect and keep clients.
Mm-hmm. And so when you say that about where the RIA industry is today, why wasn't the RIA industry in that same spot 10 years ago?
Technology.
Yeah.
I mean, 10 years ago, it was the view, in my opinion, of the independent advisor was not really. It wasn't a quality view. But now, because of technology and because of the level of sophistication that some of these, like Schwab and Fidelity and some of the big custodians, the amount of money they've invested in it, has taken the RIA from a place where it was hard to compete to where now you can compete with anybody. So that 10 years ago, it was hard to do that. But now, because of technology and the access and the kind of innovation that's going on right now, it's a great time to be an RIA.
Mm-hmm.
Great time.
And the ability, and so in your mindset, it's a matter of saying that the investment that a Schwab and a Fidelity have put into innovation and then opening up that access to independent advisors
Yes.
now levels the playing field versus the millions, tens of and hundreds of millions of dollars that like a Merrill Lynch or a Morgan Stanley have put
Yes.
into for their broker dealers and advisor reps as well. And so that's where we're at now relative to where we were. I mean, if you think about the technology that Schwab had 10 years ago, it was terrible.
Right.
And now where they have it, Schwab's technology is some of the leading technology around.
Absolutely.
So that makes sense.
Absolutely. Schwab, and listen, I came out of the non-RIA world.
Mm-hmm.
I was with the boutiques, Lehman Brothers, Bear Stearns, Oppenheimer, et cetera. And those firms, were well ahead of the independents because the independents didn't have that access to the to the resources, But these firms, Schwab, Fidelity, et cetera, they've made massive investment and they've now leapfrogged it. And also, I think the wirehouses, they're dying. They're old. When I first got in the industry, it was youth, it was energy, it was, and I watched the industry gray. And now I'm watching one part of it die, while another part kind of takes market share. There's a economist called Schumpeter, and he talks about something called creative destruction. That we go through periods of creative destruction. I think right now financial services is in that period.
Walk me through what's creative destruction.
It's the new eating the old, literally. It's a very Darwinistic survival of the fittest. And Schumpeter talks that there's periods of time when economies or sectors of economies go through creative destruction, kind of like what Amazon did to retail, And right now we're going through creative destructive period in financial services, especially with the older established firms literally dying a slow death, and these smaller, agile, more client-centered firms can now not only compete but beat them at their own game.
But does that mean that, because like if you think about Amazon and the retail, which I think is a great example, because it is Amazon came in to an antiquated system which had mom and pop shops and Walmart basically, right?
Yes.
And it forced the mom and pop shops, if they want to stay around, they got to figure something else out, a unique value prop.
Yes.
And change the way that they've done business. They can't just say, and then Walmart has drastically changed the way they're doing business because of it. So does that mean that the wirehouses are dead, or that the wirehouses are going to have to reinvent themselves in terms of if they want to stay alive? I mean, I think that they're both probably similar.
I think
areas,
I understand. I understand what you're saying, and I agree with what you're saying. I think the wirehouses, they have one major problem that puts me on when I look at the pan balance scale, where are they? They're in a lot of trouble because they're not bringing any youth into the business. The average age of the advisor is probably in the wirehouse. I've got to believe now late 50s, early 60s. When I walk through you know a UBS office or a Merrill Lynch office, or it's gray, it's old. When I go visit my RIA clients, they're younger. There's more energy. And they're two different worlds, They're two different worlds. And I see this world eating this world. I don't know what this world will end up looking like. They're well capitalized. So they've got the parent, they got the mothership,
And they got the brand, which is big. I mean,
and they do have the brand, although I don't know what the brand really means now to the newer generation of investors. I'm not sure that it means anything.
That's fair.
So.
So when we look at the evolution of the industry over the past 10 years has been technology, right? That's leveled the playing field. I want to I'm going to put a damper on the conversation for a second and say, what's the con of where we are today relative to where we've been in the past, right? If you have to look at where our industry is today, where are we worse off than the past?
The inability to really differentiate in a meaningful way. When I first got in the industry, now this was the mid late 80s. This was like the start of the equitization of America. So I've had a front row seat to watching the financial services industry evolve. And there's a lot of checks, extremely positives, and there are some negatives for sure. You're not really throwing a damper on it. You're talking about something that's very real. And one of the things that's very real is that it's so much harder to differentiate because the technology has leveled the playing field, and the playing field also has more participants because it's not just the banks, it's the insurance companies, it's these quasi-financial institutions, it's the RIA world. There's a lot of people competing, for the investor class. And then you have, fintech coming on. My feeling is that a lot of those firms haven't seen a bear market. When they do, it's going to be trouble because the connectivity between the advisor and the client isn't going to be there.
So how can firms? So differentiation is a problem, right?
It is.
I think you can say that investment management is becoming commoditized. Financial planning to an extent is becoming somewhat commoditized because of technology. Right now, everybody has access to it. Now you can put different spins on it, but it's on its way to being commoditized, right? So how do firms differentiate themselves?
Well, you've got to be creative. I mean, I've never been in your offices before, but I walked in your offices and I saw certain things that, they make you feel good, and whether it's the wall of values out there, or I believe that people may not remember what you say, they may not remember what you do, but they're always going to remember how you make them feel. So I think as a RIA, you got to be thinking, okay, how can we create an experience that's unique? I haven't experienced your firm yet, but just walking in, I see a differentiation. It's about RIAs have to be thinking about, okay, because financial advice, financial planning, asset allocation, it's commoditized. All right. So then it comes down to, there's ways to tweak it and, ways to massage it so that there are some maybe subtle differentiation between the philosophies. So the investment or asset allocation philosophy, you really got to be thinking about the client experience, and you really have to be evaluating, like, what are you doing to differentiate the client experience? Because in the end, you do have control of that.
Right. And when you say client experience, so client experience is something we talk about a lot on this show, and I'm a firm believer in client experience, that you got to focus on the client making that experience, and you got to think outside the box, which is hard for advisors, right? As an advisor, uh, we're very analytical, we're very foundational and fundamental in our approaches. And being creative and thinking outside the box in terms of how to create a client experience is outside our scope, right?
I
And so
agree.
with your clients, right, what does client experience mean, right? You mentioned the office, but what else does client experience mean for?
Um, Client experience. Um, First of all, it's you got to have a personal connectivity with the client, right? Part of it, it's the relationship, right? And and a lot of that, I'm just going to leave that aside and say that the advisors know that it's important to be connected, to not let technology be an excuse for a lack of connectivity. It adds connectivity, but it's personal touch and it's high tech, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to kind of leave certain aspects of that aside. Client experience to me is, let me give an example, all right? A few examples, actually. If you can, first of all, you have to have a system in place where you have ongoing connectivity and
Mm-hmm.
touching. That's
Great.
very important. You can't just put them in a program and forget about them. You have to have a system in place, systematic program in place to have that connectivity, to make that call. How are you to build that, to have that talking, just like
Mm-hmm.
you and I are. But let me give an example of where RIAs can think differently, think outside the box, and do some things that will create experiences where people are going to feel like that was a really cool experience. And remember, they're always going to remember how you make them feel.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a small Italian motorcycle exhibit here in Atlanta a few years ago, and I at the time I was in the industry, and talking with a group of advisors. I'm like, hey, let's do a private showing of this Italian motorcycle exhibit.
Mm-hmm.
People are going to like it. It's going to be exclusive. So if you can create experiences that people in general aren't going to have access to, it doesn't have to be financial services related. It can be art related. It could be a music related,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And inviting a small group, inviting the right group of prospects and existing clients, it's a way to nurture the business. It's a way to kind of, potentially add to the business. And because you just have to think, how am I going to differentiate myself? And it's client experience, it's connectivity, it's really thinking about your clients, understanding them completely,
Mm-hmm.
and being able to bring things to their attention that that they're gonna be connected to.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
like it's a deep relationship. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's not dissimilar to the relationship you have with your physician,
Yeah.
or the relationship that you have with a priest or a rabbi.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's that deep. That's how you differentiate yourself.
It's interesting how you say that, because I think that a few points come to mind as I'm listening to you. Right, the connectivity, the constant connectivity is a major aspect, right, and how they feel, and giving them an experience that they couldn't get anywhere else, right. Those are three main things, and so the question gets to is then how you do that, right. And I think that as advisors, we've always been prone to either not segment our clients and try to deal with them all the same way, which is commendable, but hard to do when you scale. But the second way that we do it is like, all right, fine, I'll segment my clients, and then you segment them based on AUM, and then it's like, all right, well, here are my $1 million clients, here are my five, but that's not necessarily the right way of segmenting. What you really should do is you should be segmenting based on desires and characteristics, and what do they like to do and what do they not like to do, because then you have the ability of saying, all right, I want to go take all my people that like music, and we're going to go get I have a behind the scenes pass to meet Tim McGraw. I don't know what it is, right?
Right.
I'm going to go take them to do that.
Right.
And that's something that's unique. Or I'm going to send them tickets or send them articles. And then you can create these constant that are personalized and have your clients really understand who you are. And that's the, That's the outside the box thinking that I think that an advisory firm needs to do. And I'm going to go down a path here for a second, is that I don't know if they're able to do that in the same structure as we are today as an industry. And the reason I say that is many of the owners and founders and leaders of a financial advisory firm are still managing a book of business. In order to think like you're saying you need to think in terms of building that deep, you got to businessize your business to where you have people that are just thinking on that all day, every day, and aren't dealing with the client management. Now, they should have experience there. And I would love, I mean, as you're working with firms, what are you seeing in regards to that businessization of it? Because I think that advisors will listen to this and be like, that's a lot of time. Like I've got to manage these clients.
It is.
And so in order to do that, I think you have to change the way you think about how you structure your business.
I I completely agree. I think one of the things that takes time for advisors to absorb is that, because when you first get in the business, you're going to take everything you can get. I mean, and that is the right attitude. You're hungry. You're not laser focused on, maybe a certain type. You're casting the net. You're bringing it in. You're building that business underneath you. You're trying to get that asset base to a level where it can be create a stable source of revenue, et cetera. But then we have to say, okay, how am I gonna take this kind of pot of clients that I love and that I care for, and how do I restructure it differently so that I can grow? Well, fewer is actually better. In other words, there's only so many people that you can provide, depending on the size of your firm, that world-class experience to. And where you're going to build, you're limited to the quantity of relationships, depending on the size of your firm. The larger the firm, the more relationships. But to me, it's ideally cultivating that smaller group that you are providing that world-class service to. It's hard. It's hard to do.
And
because it's hard to push away business.
Right, but does technology allow that to be done to more people? Does
I believe so.
Yeah, if used the right way.
If used the right way, yes. I think that technology is, man, look what it's done. It's been the great equalizer. It's incredible. And if you can just blend leveraging technology that enhances the client experience, you can do it with more people. You can be better organized. You can be more laser focused in segmenting your clients in the right way. I always used to when I encountered advisors and worked with advisors and myself, I used to look at the book segmentation thing as, this is not the right way to segment. I mean, you were 100% right. You have to segment. Forget about the assets. It's what's the nature of the relationship and the potential of that relationship. That's how books are best segmented. But in the end, in my opinion, it's about creating an infrastructure underneath you to service not a massive group of clients, a smaller group of clients where you have the deep relationship with. To me, that's the ideal model.
I agree. I think that there's technology can enable you to kind of put some people on autopilot and still keep them.
Yes.
But it also allows you to scale and focus on deepening the relationship and create more meaningful relationships with your clients. Now,
it does.
Now, with all this in mind, right? So you walk into an advisor firm today, and they say, "Hey, Gordon, I want you to help me differentiate my firm." What's the first thing you do?
I want to deeply understand. The first thing that I do is take the time to really understand what is the business model today. I have to understand that and go deep with them on how it's currently constructed so that then I can kind of say, okay, now that I have a deep understanding, here are the things that I think are really important that we focus on, you know. But it starts, it's just like the client, it's the same exact experience. It's like you want to develop a deep understanding of someone before you really give them advice that, you know, if taken, it's a big deal, you know, and, you know, because it's, I mean, you're talking about people's livelihoods, you know, and in the case of investors, you're talking about, you know, their money. And I sadly, I've seen a class of investors that cares more about their money than their family or their health.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, to me, there's three critical things. It's, you know, it's your family, your health, and your financial health, you know, and, you know, I've seen certain, so, but my point is that what I do is I want to gain as deep an understanding. I want to ask good questions, and so that I can understand how the business is currently constructed, and then say, okay, because everybody's different, everybody's unique. That is the beauty of financial services. There's so many ways to approach it. No one has the monopoly on the right philosophy. There are many philosophies that make a lot of sense.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that I agree with that. I think that and that's how I think the differentiation happens from the relationship, right? And that's what we're coming to from that standpoint.
Yes.
I want to get into buy or sell here in a second, but I have to. I always ask this question. I always start with the same question with our clients or our guests, and I start with end with the last question, the same question. Sitting in your seat right now, let's take out the crystal ball. What does our industry look like 10 years from today?
I think that it's never going away. I think that you can commoditize everything but a relationship. You cannot commoditize a relationship. So I think the industry is going to continue to leverage technology to create deep relationships that are going to be sticky. I think that the compensation model could definitely change. It could be more like, you know, software as a service. But in the end, the individual relationship, that's not going away. Technology can't replace that. It can only enhance it and enable it to scale and enable it to keep connectivity. You know, it's so I think the RIAs are the new king of the jungle. I think they're the new lions that are going to control the plains, if you will. I think the old firms are slowly dying. They'll be there, but that's not where the innovation's going to come from. That's not where the connectivity and the great client experience is going to come from. It's coming from the RIA world as we speak.
Yeah.
It's a very exciting future.
Yeah, no, I agree with much of that. The one thing that I think is going to be the differentiation is the SaaS model. The pricing model is a big topic of conversation. And I think that everybody's worried about fee compression, and you know,
They should
my
be.
my and I think that's a fair point. My point of view, though, is that I don't think it's going to be fee compression. I think that clients are comfortable in understanding of the fee today. They don't like change either, right? They have to then understand something new, and they have to go, because it's not like we're introducing a whole new industry, right? The industry, they understand how it's being priced, right? It's not Uber. Uber is still the same pricing, similar pricing as taxis, and so distance and everything of that nature. So I think that the 1% is actually going to stay the same. The challenge, though, for financial advisors is that your clients are going to start seeing that there's a lot more value that can be derived from that 1%. And so as a financial advisor, you're going to be forced by your clients to deliver more services, value, and servicing for that same fee than you were 10 years ago, which then means that the true root cause of the problem is margin compression. And in the study that I use for that, thesis is a price metric study from 2018, and they looked at advisory firms. They looked at the advisory firms, a group of advisory firms that lowered their fees, and a group of advisory firms that kept their fees the same or increased it. And the ones that kept their fees or increased it actually saw greater AUM per advisor, so they kind of made it even, leveled it out, than those that lowered their fees. And the reason is because the ones that lowered their fees are hiding something. They're lowering their fees to try to cover for a lack of value, lack of service, or lack of servicing. Whereas the other ones are putting a lot of time into servicing and values to where they can do whatever they want with their fee and their clients aren't going to leave. And I think that that's, in my point of the industry, is that if you don't figure out how to become efficient and scalable, then you're going to have really reduced margins, and that's not why anybody got in. I mean, people got into this business to change lives, but as a business owner, and you're looking at the bottom line, you're not going to want to see your margins compress over time. So even if your top line's looking healthy,
Right.
you're just throwing more into the expense side of the column. So I think that could be a whole nother podcast. I mean, I want to, in terms of fee compression, because I think that is a hot topic in our industry today, for sure.
And you're right. I hate to say this, but it is so true. And we've all heard this, but it is a natural law. I mean, price is an issue in the absence of value.
Yep.
It really is.
So
and there are a universe of firms, they're competing on price. You're 100%. I agree with you. I think you're right on.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're hiding something. Agreed. And what they're hiding is a lack of full connectivity and a lack of full delivery on an experience that a client is going to love.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, and I do agree. I mean, I've heard both sides of the argument. I've heard people say, "Oh my, the average fee's going down to 50 beeps all in," and it might for certain segments of the market. It could, but you're not going to get the service. You're not going to get the client experience. You're not going to get the connectivity. So yes, there are firms that will be able to hold that off through the client experience, and especially if you're catering to entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs know more than anybody that they're willing to pay for they see value because they're building a business, or they're running a business. So yes, if there's real value and there's real connectivity, and that the objective is about developing a deep relationship and not putting them in the machine and just letting it feed through the machine, yeah, they're gonna get hit bad.
Yeah, I agree.
But there'll be survivors that can stay, that will be able to continue to justify the 1% in the face of the 50 beeps all in over here.
Yep.
No question.
Yep. I agree. All right, buy or sell. It's my as you alluded to, the CNBC game.
CNBC
I brought onto here. Yeah. So your CNBC moment, Joe Kernan, all of them, Becky Quick,
love them.
All of them. Buy or sell. Buy means you agree with the statement. Sell means you disagree. 4 statements. And after you give your opinion, you can give a quick statement of why you lean one way or the other. And we'll see if you're a bull or a bear, all right? Buy or sell, our industry will see the same type of Amazon, quote, disruption that other industries like retail have seen.
Buy.
Explain.
We're in a creative destructive period right now, okay? And with the advent of all, artificial intelligence, machine learning, behavioral psychology, we're gonna see some amazing things. But yeah,
all right, I'll take it. Buy or sell. Advisors are correct to believe that their, quote, white glove service will be diminished if they utilize more technology solutions to interact with clients.
Sell. I mean, it's the technology is an asset. It is an ally. It is something that, if used properly, it's a beautiful thing, and it enhances a relationship.
And I would add on to that, and that's why I like this question, because I can talk on it too as well, is if you don't believe your clients are already interacting with technology, you're foolish. Because if you're not texting your clients, you don't have a mobile portal or a mobile app or whatever it may be, Your clients are interacting with Facebook, they're interacting on FaceTime, they like video conferencing, they're texting their friends, they're doing it with other services and other industries. And if someone else gets them and they start seeing that that's how they live their life and that's normal and you're not doing it, they're going to start questioning you. And that's what you don't want. Buy or sell. Continued innovation in our industry will have to come from outside minds as opposed to people close to the industry today.
Sell.
Wow. Okay. Go down that.
Sell. Our industry attracts the best and the brightest. Not all, yes, not all advisors are outside the box. However, there are a lot of incredibly talented people in our industry, and our industry has always been good, I think, especially with the advent of the RIA world and everything. I'm talking about the industry as a whole. I think our industry is very evolutionary, and I think there's a lot of bright people with a lot of great ideas. And now that the technology's there, a lot of their great ideas are going to come to fruition. I mean, a lot of the old firms have birthed the new firms. I mean, think about it. Think about the migration, you know? They're very talented people, you know? They're just, and they're smart. They're getting out. They're getting into the RIA world. And so I think with the more, as technology continues to come on, the industry will be able to reinvent itself. It's not going to take an Elon Musk or something like that to disrupt it. I don't believe it.
I love the optimism, and I can see that view. I think that there's a value of being innovative within the industry and knowing the industry because it is a unique industry in terms of the relationships and the psychological barriers of dealing with money and such like that. So I like that. I'm in your camp on that. I like that. All right, last one. Buy or sell. And I wasn't expecting for us to talk about this earlier, so I think I know where you're going to lean. The future of fees within our industry will look more like a subscription or Netflix model as opposed to the traditional AUM percentage fee model.
Buy.
We already talked about
Yes.
that. Yeah,
yes.
we already talked about that. So you're kind of on the we're a hold right now. You're not a bull, you're not a bear. You got two bulls, two buys, two sells. So you're a hold. That's a good spot to be. In an uncertain market environment that we're in today, that's a perfect spot to be, right? Not going one way or two.
There are times when it makes sense just to sit tight and let it unfold.
Yeah, and that's where you are. I like it. I like
yes.
it. All right, that's another edition of Buy or Sell. Now we're going to get your closing thought. I'll give a closing thought, and then we'll kind of wrap up and let everybody get back to their day. But for your closing thought, and go down whichever path you want. But think about what is one thing that an advisor can really take back to their firm tomorrow or tonight and implement and actually push their firm forward in terms of relative to the industry.
I think the firm has to make a collective commitment to developing deep relationships and go back and evaluating the relationships. Where is the depth here? What is missing here? And putting in a plan to attack that. Because again, it's about that interpersonal connectivity. That is the special sauce. And yes, that is influenced by technology. It's influenced by organization. It's influenced by, that the individual reaching out. But I would ask every firm, hey, what is our client experience? How do we, let's crystallize it. What does it look like? What does the ideal client relationship for our firm look like? And how do we try to replicate that with our existing clients, and how do we try to articulate that to attract new clients?
I love that. I think that client experience and devoting time as a firm to all of that is really key. And I think that it's up to a firm to make that commitment. It's a capacity thing, right? You have to have a monetary capacity, but you also have to have a time capacity and a willingness to do that. I think that's really good.
Yes.
For me, in my closing thought, I want to start with a quote by Bob Berg, a well-known speaker and author. And he says, all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust. I spend a lot of my time talking about technology innovation, which is a piece to the puzzle. After you figure out a company why, and after you create in a culture of learning, and identifying processes internally. But many people view adopting technology as, quote, innovating. And there's still a large group of people that are tied to do it the way they have been in fear of being replaced, both of which are incorrect beliefs. I don't see a future of our industry without humans playing an extremely large and important role. Actually, I see a future where the human plays an even larger role in creating the true value proposition and differentiation of firms in this industry. Technology is an enablement tool that allows people and firms to innovate on ways to create more time for themselves and their teams. Technology should be used as an enabler to allow us, humans and advisors, to develop deeper, more meaningful relationships with our clients. Being innovative in the process that we currently use and trying to evolve them should be for the reason of creating more personalized touch points with more of our clients and allowing us to figure out how we can spend more time helping our clients move up Maslow's hierarchy to a point of fulfillment. Investment management will always be a key spoke in the relationship with a financial advisor, but it should be just that, a spoke as opposed to the hub. The hub should be the relationship, and as an innovative firm, you should focus on allowing the hub more time to create more spokes to help the clients live more of their best life. Innovation changes the relationship. It allows for you to have a different relationship. But always remember that innovation should not eliminate the relationship. Gordon Morse, thank you so much for joining us. It was an
Thank
awesome
you.
conversation. Really
Yeah, it was
appreciate
great.
that. And to
Great.
everybody out
Honored
there,
to be here.
we'll have you back. There's more talking points that we can go down. And to everybody else that's out there listening, thank you for listening, tuning in to another episode of Bridging the Gap. And we'll be in your ears again next week.